Hey everybody, welcome back to History Student Reacts. Today we'll be watching Absurd Inventions That Should Not Exist by BlueJay. Now this is a very classic BlueJay-esque video, and I guess we'll have to watch through to see if these inventions really shouldn't exist. Maybe I'll be the judge of that, or we can all judge for ourselves. Now if you guys end up enjoying this one, I'd appreciate it if you'd leave a like, subscribe, and check out my Patreon or channel memberships if you would like access to a whole bunch of exclusive reaction videos. Now, with all of that out of the way, let's jump right into this reaction.
This video is sponsored by War Thunder. It's the 6th century BC, ancient Greece, and the inventor Perilos was going to impress the king. Like any good inventor, Perilos recognized a niche that needed to be filled. Tyrants often found themselves with a bunch of prisoners in need of a good old flick on the off switch, and these executions needed to be as horrific as possible to dissuade would-be ne'er-do-wells. So how could one go
I guess that's one way to do it. You can look at different approaches to execution over the years. It's sort of interesting. Something that sends a shiver through the spine today is, for example, the guillotine. You see this as this horrible killing machine. But, the thing is, when the guillotine was first invented, and we're talking about the French Revolution here, the whole idea is that it would be a relatively quick, painless way of killing somebody. Rather than hanging somebody by their neck, which can be sometimes fast, sometimes extremely brutal, the guillotine, it was meant to be quick, it was meant to be an equal way of killing everybody, and instead of killing everybody in different ways, they'd all get the same treatment. So it was sort of, I know it's sort of strange to say, but it was with an egalitarian spirit that this method of killing was brought to the front. But, since they used it to really kill a lot of people, became this sort of symbol of fear and tyranny, which, it's still largely seen as today, I would say. But, of course, a lot of killing machines or inventions have been put together specifically to torture those whom it is killing.
About burning delinquents alive while making the spectacle fun for the whole family. Perhaps we could burn the criminals inside of something that was much nicer to look at than charring flesh. Well, if we learned anything from Fisher-Price toys, it's that kids love their animals. But if we learned anything else, it's also that the bull doesn't go, So after snapping some synapses of his sinister little Satan cerebrum, he invented the brazen bull.
Yeah, I've heard of this one. I was sort of thinking, wait a minute, this is, you can probably already see where this is going, extremely brutal. I don't know how much we're going to be talking about killing or torture machines in this one, but throughout the ancient, into the medieval, and sometimes into the modern world, there have been some pretty horrific methods of killing or torturing people throughout history. And honestly, highlight torturing instead of killing, because the longer it keeps you alive, usually the more brutal it actually is.
A bronze statue of a bull that sits over a fire with just enough space inside for some criminal stew. However, the real human meat and potatoes of the device was in the statue's snoot, an acoustic series of tubes that would convert the screams of the poor ingredients inside into a sound like the bellows of a bull.
Oh wow, I didn't know that part. I knew you get put inside and cooked. I think I prefer even the Wall Street bull to this one.
At complete, Perilos pitched his beast to the ruthless King Phalaris of Acragos, claiming the screams of the condemned would bring pleasure to his ears. And I guarantee you, the screams of the damned coming out of this puppy will be sick as hell. No way. Yeah way. Check it. Holy shit, that's awesome! Guards, put that on a repeat for me. What? Disgusted by Perilos' description of the device, Phalaris tricked Perilos by asking him to demonstrate the horns, locking him inside, and setting fire underneath the bull to hear the inventor's quite genuine demonstration.
I will say, to be honest, that sounds like one of those stories that's a little too good to be true. I don't know, I'm not that familiar, well, I've heard of this thing before, I'm not that familiar with the story, so I don't know what the historical veracity is. Is this more myth or more history? I couldn't tell you. I'm a little suspicious, but that is, I wouldn't condemn anybody to that method of torture, but frankly, if you're the guy who invented it, it seems like almost an appropriate way to go for your sick, sick mind.
Before getting too medium well, the tyrant's tender heart decided to show mercy, freeing Perilos from the brazen bull.
Okay.
and throwing him off a cliff. The
Oh.
tale of the brazen bull is difficult to verify, and
Right.
very well could have been more legend than fact. However, the lesson
Yeah, I mean, that'd be my guess. With a lot of these, especially ancient stories that sound a little bit too good to be true, they're usually a lot more fiction than fact. You know, the ancient world, historians just lied all the time. But, what they were doing was essentially narrativizing history. And one of their jobs, they felt, was essentially to provide moral instruction through their stories. And so they would mythologize history, make these stories with sort of a point to them. And we still do that in many ways today, but we're a little more focused on maintaining the historical accuracy of what we're writing, more than making a moral argument, though sometimes you can combine the two.
it teaches are all too real. Now, Jeff, tell me, what was Paralous's biggest mistake here? Whoa, dude, his edible's really kicking in. That's right, he didn't file for a patent. A patent would have given Paralous intellectual property over his brazen bull, and thus make it illegal for third parties, like the king, to use his device without his permission.
Is this an ad?
In short, if you're gonna deal with devils, make sure you do it in their language. The letter of the law. The light of redemption shines upon my face from above. I climb as my mortal shadow clings to my soul. Jesus, man, what the fuck did you take? Here. Hell yeah, now it's a party. Dude, no, it's water. God, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think I'm just gonna let you sit this one out and rest. Ain't no rest for the wicked. Anyway, for inventors around the world, patents are the must-have piece of
I was sure we were transitioning into an ad there.
paper for granting them ownership over whatever gadgets or gizmos they can puke out of their imaginations. However, even if they existed around the time of Paralous, you're unlikely to be able to patent something as overtly unethical as a human crockpot murder statue. But that doesn't mean there's not gray areas. So today,
Yeah, you could say that. There's plenty of gray areas in terms of getting a patent. Which, I understand the necessity of a system like that, and, I get it. But sometimes, I feel we should perhaps loosen patent law a little bit when people are taking out patents on things that really should be public goods, or being able to be used as public goods. But anyway, what am I saying, huh?
we're gonna learn about the inventors that really pushed the moral envelope and created some of history's most ethically
Baby
questionable
cage.
patents.
That's a classic.
Back in 1927, oh, sorry, that must be my wife. Hey honey, what's up? She wants me to talk about her small business. You're married to an F-16? Hey, she's an F-14. War Thunder is the
here's
most
the ad.
comprehensive vehicle combat game ever made. And not only can you feel your god
I was like, when's this ad coming? I could feel it in my bones. It was coming. Dude, War Thunder's keeping a lot of YouTubers fed. Like, goddamn, I see so many War Thunder ads on YouTube. What's the other one? War of Tanks? I haven't played either, but they're shelling out cash for these YouTubers. Anyway, I've got BlueJay's video linked down below, so you can go and check it out. Give them a like. Show them some support for making these videos that we enjoy to react to and share. It's only fair. Rhyming.
physics and a proper challenge. Still not real enough for you? Just hop on social media and wait for someone to leak classified military documents. There's truly a game mode for everyone.
I think I remember
Join a
that.
massive community of over 70 million players today in War Thunder using my links in the pinned comment or video description. New and returning players that haven't played in 6 months on PC or console will also receive a bonus pack of premium vehicles, the Eagle of Valor decorator, 100,000 silver lions, and 7 days of premium account time. It's available for a limited time only, so be quick. And now, back to the video. In 1927, there once was a bright mind in California who shared a hobby with yours truly. Punishing naughty boys.
God.
Helene Adelaide Shelby was on a mission to solve the problem of the high number of retracted confessions plaguing the criminal justice system. What good was arresting naughty little boys if so many of them evaded being chained up in a cell, Helene thought. Therefore, our hero decided to target this issue at its source, the interrogation room. Questioning
Okay, I already don't like where this is going. I'll put it this way. The interrogation room inside the United States justice system has been a room that has contained many atrocities over the years. There have been many different examples of interrogations that have been done in you could call them an unethical manner. I mean, we're talking about the U.S. justice system. unethical might be the main word I'd use, but let's see what we're about to get here.
Culprits with your run-of-the-mill
Especially in 1927.
detective was so 1910s fashion after all, so she found herself pondering a question we all have from time to time. What if, instead of a random dude in a button-up threatening them with some measly prison time, the culprits feared for their mortal soul instead?
Wow.
Behold, the future. The suspect, believed to have killed a man in cold blood, nervously inches his way into a dark room, the door slamming shut behind him. The space before him is chillingly empty, save for a single curtain draped over the far wall. His breath catches and heart pounds as chains clink taut, lifting the curtain and revealing his guilt. The skeletal remains of the very man he murdered, standing once more before him. A shroud of ominous light radiates from the bloodlust.
Hey, this is kind of stupid. Like, I'll put it this way, if you fall for this, come on, man.
Red light bulbs in his...
This would only work if you could legitimately convince the prisoner that this was a reanimated skeleton. And frankly, I'm not sure we even have the special effects to do that today. In a movie, but not in real life. Maybe if you really put some work into it, so yeah, I'm not so sure.
Eyes. Wait a minute, light bulb? But before he can question further, his hair stands on end as he suddenly hears a winding, painful churn emanate from the corpse, sounding suspiciously like a tape recorder?
Yeah, this is, they just did not have the technology to do this. Like I said, I'm not sure we even have the technology today, especially if you're locking the perp in there with this automaton or whatever it is for a extended period of time. He's gonna realize pretty quickly, oh, wait a minute, there's nothing supernatural here. This is a bunch of gadgets and gizmos, as they'd say in the 1920s.
It is I, Michael Dahlman. Confess to your crimes. Could I just have a lawyer? Fuck. Helene filed a patent for an apparatus for obtaining criminal confessions and recording them. In essence,
It's just so goofy.
it was a lie detector consisting of a skeleton in a dark room with spooky lighting and red light bulbs for eyes. With a megaphone and film camera in its skull, Helene's goal was to induce a supernatural experience to work upon the suspect's imagination and cause them to spontaneously confess to their crimes. And honestly, not a terrible idea.
It's pretty terrible. I mean, look, there's been tricksters and schemers throughout history who've been able to perform schemes like this to trick people into believing ghosts were real, but in this setting, well, first of all, it's stupid and unethical, but put that aside, in this setting, I'm not sure it would really work at all. Plus, the sort of extended there's just a lot of things that make this not work. Now, once again, yes, people have been convinced about the existence of ghosts by scam artists throughout history, but you need to do it a lot differently than this, honestly.
After all, the fear of supernatural punishment works for Catholic boys in confessional booths, but that was because of a different kind of bone. Now, is it immoral to patent a device whose primary function is essentially psychological torture? Sure, but that's only a problem if you're using it on people. These are criminals. But regardless, there doesn't seem to be any evidence that this was ever actually built and used, which is probably a blessing in disguise as it's pretty much the poster child for a coerced confession. Criminals aren't quite people, as we've learned, but believe it or not, they are still good for one thing. Their bodies. No, I don't just mean the bountiful slave labor they provide for pennies on the dollar.
That's what I was thinking of. Hey, in the United States, we ban slavery except in the case of incarcerated persons, where they still work for, even today, for almost no money. Sometimes even toiling in fields, in Louisiana, for example, but doing all kinds of things, right? So they're used for their bodies in that way, but apparently we'll talk about a different example.
In the land of the free, I'm talking about their corpses. With medical schools booming post-American Civil War, the study of anatomy and dissection on cadavers was growing in demand.
Yes. And I'll tell you, maybe we're about to get to this, but in the early days of sort of modern medicine, I mean, here we're talking about, I guess, the late 1800s, but really from the 1700s onwards, when you had people trying to discover how the body really worked, you had a lot of dissections, autopsies performed by surgeons and doctors, and so they needed to acquire a lot of corpses, and this was often not done in an ethical manner. I mean, you can literally dig up graves. That happened I was going to say occasionally, but really more than occasionally. But oftentimes you would have clinics or schools who would make a deal with the local penitentiary or the local prison, and they would literally give them the corpses, usually not with the consent of the prisoner. So really, you could do a whole video about the unethical acquisition of corpses for medical reasons during this time period.
And if you were one of the up-and-coming surgical students looking to slice and dice in a way that suffice, you needed a steady supply of legal corpses in the form of donors or executed criminals. But unfortunately for them, the demand had begun to outpace the supply for corpses, so it looks like they're shit out of luck. What's that, Timmy? Oh, sure, go for it. Oh, well, this solves everything.
Yeah.
The illicit body snatching trade was at an all-time high in the late 1800s.
All-time high, but that is not when it started. As we talked about, the illicit body snatching trade, that's been going on probably since humans have been buried, or since we've been around, essentially. But for this reason in particular, for medical purposes, even then, it had been going on for a while.
Providing perfect, albeit slightly decomposed bodies for all your student slicing needs. And so naturally, this also opened a market for the anti-body snatching trade. Enter Philip K. Clover, an Ohio artist who got to work theorizing ways to shoot body snatchers in the foot. What if I shoot them in the foot? Introducing the coffin torpedo.
Whoa.
Patented in 1878, the invention sought to, quote, prevent the unauthorized resurrection of dead bodies.
Okay, hey, I'll say, I'm sure this is not gonna go well, but this is maybe the first invention where I don't hate the initial idea, or maybe the intent behind the idea. I can already imagine a lot of issues with this, but at least something good is trying to be done here, which is to, prevent bodies from being stolen out of the ground.
To do this, an explosive would be rigged underneath the
My
coffin
God.
lid with a tripwire, so that when a would-be thief took a gander inside, they'd be met with a mouthful of lead pellets,
Jesus.
increasing the body count in the grave. Why bother trying to change a criminal's heart when you can just remove it? Obviously,
Maybe a little bit extreme, man.
this would be an excellent deterrent for any aspiring grave robbers. So long as you're careful about when you set it.
Yeah, right.
Hey, it's supposed to be an open casket. Wait! Jeffrey! No! Hey, it's supposed to be an open casket. Wait! There was also the grave torpedo, patented in 1881, but instead of a 12-gauge makeover hidden inside the coffin lid, this one was pretty much just a landmine buried above the coffin.
Jesus.
A pretty brutal deterrent, only made more fitting by the ominous advertisement for the device stating, "Sleep well, sweet angel, let no fears of ghouls disturb thy rest, for above thy shrouded form lies a torpedo, ready to make minced meat of anyone who attempts to convey you to the pickling vat."
To the pickling vat? What the hell? Okay, look, I gotta say, I like the idea of trying to prevent bodies from being stolen, but I don't think it's worth it to explode some guy, in the act of trying to prevent someone from snatching a body. You have now doubled the corpse count. That doesn't seem quite worth it to me.
A description that comes off a little too eager for gore, in my opinion, so I wouldn't be surprised if this guy spent many a night hiding in cemeteries to see if his device worked. Yo boy, here they come! So, this is it? Yeah, I can't believe it. We did it, George. We finally found my father's grave after 10 long years. I'd just about given up hope, but I knew how much he wanted me to have the Peters family locket that he was buried with. It's been in our family for 145 years after all. Myself and my 8 young children, all under the age of 9, half of which who have disabilities, will be so thrilled to have this locket back in our family. I'm their only source of support left after the tragic passing of their mother and all of our extended relatives in a series of horrific accidents. They could really use a pick-me-up. Speaking of, can you help me pick this up? It's unclear how—
I like the line, not stepping in. Just either because you don't want to reveal yourself as a creep, or maybe I gotta see this go off. It's tragic, but I can't step up and stop it.
widespread these devices were in their time, but there were reported cases of them killing or injuring a number of robbers.
Wow.
However, innovations in refrigeration would soon curve the corpse supply problem, so these devices would be rather short-lived. And good thing they were, because
Right time period for them, though. Late 1800s, really the height of, not only Victorian, but Gothic literature. perfect time for, coffin torpedoes. Especially seeing the advertisement that was written up. It's almost sort of gothic in nature, or maybe more like some sort of, horror magazine of the time.
Doubt OSHA would be too fond of having cemetery workers basically stare a live Victorian claymore in the face as they carefully lower it 6 feet into the ground without any sudden movements. But enough about people at the end of their lives. What about the beginning?
Oh,
the
no.
wonder of childbirth is said to be one of the most beautiful moments you can ever experience.
Where are we going with this?
I don't say that. I find it C tier at best, but maybe we can make it better. Have you ever been giving birth and thought to yourself, not enough G-force? Well, back in the 1960s, George and Charlotte
God.
Blonsky sought to spin things up in the baby delivery meta by literally spinning the woman up, submitting a patent for a, quote, apparatus for facilitating the birth of a child by centrifugal force.
By centrifugal force. Uh-oh. Oh, no. Oh, no. I can already see where this is going. This is not good.
Seeking to reverse the decline in both infant and maternal mortality rates, the idea was to strap an expectant mother to a table shaped like a foreshadowing crucifix, pull a lever, and then spin the poor woman on the most painful day of her life until the baby pops out into a net.
That is crazy. That is crazy. I mean, even if you said to me, hey, we're going to try and speed up this birth with centrifugal force, I'd be like, excuse me, what? What are you trying to tell me? And it's basically exactly what you'd expect, which is just spinning the mother around. That's horrible.
Delivering a baby and giving it its first crib? Now that's what I call killing two birds with one stone. Except the birds are people. And a mother and child. Now, you might imagine the Blonsky couple must have come up with this idea based on their own childbirth experiences. No, they were childless. Instead, they got the idea from a zoo, where they watched an elephant spinning around in labor.
Okay.
Wow, nature is beautiful. Sir, do they always do that? What? Oh yeah, like, that's just nature. Supposedly, they were told by the zookeeper that this was something elephants do all the time before giving birth, which, by the way, is just not true.
I love that. First of all, classic 60s moment where you just totally misunderstood something. You're gonna make a crazy invention based on it. Also, classic 1880s moment. Really a classic human moment. But I love, I guess he's smoking weed here, but frankly, it's more like your crack-smoking zookeeper who said, yeah, man, they always do that. They spin around when they have babies. And the Blonsky couple was like, genius. Let's do that to humans.
I couldn't confirm that anywhere in my research, so that guy was probably just fucking with them. And thank God he did, because it ended up giving me excellent YouTube content. They believed a device like this was necessary because as
these legit look like horror torture devices. If you showed these to me and had me guess what they did, my guess would be, I don't know, torture the individual strapped in. And frankly, that might have been the actual effect.
They put it, civilized women did not have the musculature present in more primitive women who had
classic 60s moment.
Easy and pain-free childbirths. Because what is a 1960s pattern without a wee bit of racial undertones?
This is so, this is so goofy. They're like, well, civilized women, they can't do it quite as quickly. It's like, have you not been paying attention to the statistics? Okay, I guess I'm not saying childbirth has become faster over time. I couldn't tell you that. But with modern technology and civilization, whatever you want to call it, it's become safer over time, right? So it's racist and just goofy to be like, oh, we need to start spinning them again. Well, not like there was ever any spinning.
I'm sure there's probably a few concerns going through your minds.
Yeah.
Like, what if it doesn't spin fast enough to get the baby out?
No,
it will. It got up to 7 Gs of force. For
the
reference,
hell?
that's as much as Apollo 16 experienced on re-entry of Earth's atmosphere. This would essentially turn your precious newborn into a 54-pound medicine ball desperately pushing to rupture the walls of your womb. Other features
I mean, hey, will it make the birth faster? It very well might. You know what? I'll give them that. but it'll also make it an absolute horror show. This is a disaster.
Include an emergency brake for safety or comedic effect, and a bell to announce the joyous occasion and signal the end of the ride. It's reported that this device was never used, and no babies were born this way, although I believe we have evidence that proves otherwise. At the end of the day, the fetus fidget spinner was truly ahead of its time, as I can 100% see this device selling well in our current environment, given some slight modifications. Alright, ma'am, you ready for the happiest day of your life? Yes, I'm just happy this should make the process quick. Not too quick, though. Try to hold on for about 27 seconds for me, and aim for black. The father's white. Place your bets, folks, place your bets. Betting ends in 25 seconds. $50 on red.
Although, I don't know about this, but honestly, I could imagine, you know, with one of these, like, granola anti-science type people, you could tell them, hey, you know, just this type of myth is something I could see being spread today. You know, elephants actually spin around when they give birth. It makes the birth much faster and much safer. Can you imagine that shit spreading on, like, Twitter or something? Or, you know, somewhere on the internet? Yeah, humans should actually start spinning too. The modern medical establishment doesn't want you to know this, but it makes births much faster and quicker and safer. You know, I don't know. I can imagine really any type of lie or myth or conspiracy spreading today.
Place your bets, folks, place your bets. Betting ends in 25 seconds. $50 on red. 100 on first 12. It's coming! You better hold it in or I'm charging the payouts to your medical bill. The Wheel of Misfortune was awarded the Ig Nobel Prize posthumously in 1999, a parody award of the Nobel Prize. Because after all, an idea doesn't have to be good to get a patent, it just has to be new. But I can't imagine there are any ideas going through your head right now, Jeff. Jeff? Oh, I gave you lean.
Oh my god, brother. I was gonna say, it looked purple earlier. I will say here, you know, this video is called Absurd Inventions That Should Not Exist. The thing is, some of these did actually exist, but some only in the form of an idea. There are many crazy patents out there that never were actually created, right? This is an example of that. This, you know, mother's spinning machine. That's one that wasn't actually created, so it didn't exist.
Yeah, that's not gonna help someone who's about to OD. You really shouldn't have drank that. What, he's not gonna use it? Besides, I need his username and password for War Thunder. Make sure to check them out on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, or on your phone for free using my links below.
They got it on every console.
In 6 months will get a massive bonus.
Alright, I believe that is the end of this video. There we go. Thank you for watching, everybody. That was definitely a weird one, but hey, I said at the beginning, basically a classic BlueJay-esque video, the craziest, the most absurd, the worst, you know, that type of thing. And today we were talking about absurd inventions that should not exist, and hey, some of them did not exist. You know what I mean? Hey, all you guys watching, don't get any ideas, okay? These are all patented. Do not try to use these to make your own insane, crazy inventions. You'll only be making the world worse. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, you could leave a like, subscribe, become a YouTube channel member, or a patron. You can find both of those down below, and those will grant you access to a bunch of exclusive content, and also early access to videos that will become public at some point. So there you go. Hope you're all having a great day today, and I will see you all again next time. Goodbye.